Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as the link to our good friends over at Critical Failure. Check us out every Wednesday night. They have a new streamed game that's going to be starting on Mondays pretty soon. Check that out too. They're a lot of fun and very chaotic. With all that being said and done, we're going to jump into this week's video. We're talking about the Harengon. The Harengon came to us from a campaign book, The Wild Beyond Witchlight, which is a very Fey-oriented campaign. If you like the Feywild and you like the kind of craziness and you like circuses, definitely take a look at it. It's really that kind of a world. It's really wild. The Feywild as itself is a very interesting place. I could go and talk about the Feywild forever. It's a lot of fun. It's not as happy and whimsical as people think. It's really a terrible place where all these Fey entities kind of really abuse whoever goes in there and isn't from there. It's very chaotic. It's very dangerous, and it's not a place you kind of want to wake up in. If you do, you kind of want to get out of there quickly if you're a smart and intelligent person. That being said, the Harengon is one of the few brand new species that kind of came up in this world. The Harengon are really unique in the fact that they're one of the very few new species that have come into the world. Like the owlin, they are not something that have a lot of lore to them. Their history is kind of just, they just erupted in the Feywild at some point. However you want to go into depth about it, that's cool. You really kind of have a lot of free reign with devising the history of your people in that regard, which is great. Definitely talk to your DM about that. And because it looks so different from everything else in D&D. You know, you have dragons, you have dragonborn, you have elves, you have dwarves, you have lizard folk, you know, and then you have like this giant bipedal bunny. And it's so strange of a concept to me because even though I like rabbits, it's not something that really like instills any kind of real fear into me. It's just weird. The more you look at it, and as I was looking through art for this, I just kind of started questioning my life choices. It's just like, it's hard to build a tough, scary Harengon unless you're just purely building nightmare fuel, which I can totally get behind because that kind of thing I'd really, really enjoy. But the trouble is, you can't feasibly be that at all hours of the day. It just doesn't work. No one is, even evil people aren't evil every single moment of every single day. It's fun to be creepy, but you're gonna annoy your players or bore them by constantly being that way. So it's a kind of interesting fine line to walk as a giant bunny. So it's a very hard concept for me personally to wrap my head around, but mechanically speaking, they're very solid. So, oddly enough, you are a humanoid as a creature type as opposed to being a Fey, which I think is odd. I think they should have gotten that Fey creature type, but I guess for mechanical reasons, it's just easier to deal with it that way. Your base walking speed is 30, which oddly I think should have been higher than that. You do get to choose whether you're medium or small. Again, I don't know why you would ever choose to be small, but you can choose to still be medium. But it's interesting because, you know, you could be medium and still be like 6'5". Like, you could be pretty big, and maybe that might be pretty cool. You do not have dark vision, which is something that's kind of really important to note. As any kind of creature in D&D, not having dark vision augments how you kind of have to see the world and how you play. It can be a fun challenge, but a lot of people tend to look for dark vision as almost a necessity. But that's a personal choice. Sometimes you just got to challenge yourself. You do get leporine or leporine senses, which gives you proficiency in the perception skill, which is something that a lot of other fake people have. Like the elves have this proficiency in perception. I think it makes sense. You're a rabbit. They are very alert entities, so being able to see very well and perceive really makes sense. You also gain hair trigger. Get it? Hair. You can add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. It makes a lot of sense because you're a quick, nimble animal. So being able to get around quick, to be able to move quick or early, really benefits you. And it really ties into the kind of, obviously the rabbit part of the Harengon, which works really well. All their special skills really tie into that kind of a theme, and it feels really unique in that kind of a sense. You also gain lucky footwork. When you fail a dexterity saving throw, you can use a reaction to roll a d4 and add it to the save, potentially turning the failure into a success, and you can't use this reaction if you're prone or your speed is 0. There's only a couple things that reduce your speed to 0. Being prone is something that you definitely need to really work with. Sometimes you just end up in that situation. But there is no limit to how many times you can do this. Depending on the kind of character build you have, would depict on how many reactions you really need. If you have a spell like shield or absorb elements, you might want to use those reactions for this. But if you're not a caster, your reactions kind of fall to just either something you gain from a specific skill, like the Rune Knight Fighter, or it's just going to go to opportunity attacks. This is a great defensive unit because some of those dexterity saving throws, a d4 can really make a huge difference. And you could use it an unlimited amount of time. So every turn you could use this if you would find yourself in that circumstance. So really kind of debate where you are, but you'll probably get a lot more use of this if you're a frontliner or kind of a striker kind of a character. You also gain rabbit hop. As a bonus action, you can jump a number of feet equal to 5 times your proficiency bonus without provoking opportunity attacks. You can use this trait only if your speed is greater than 0. You can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. A skill like this is very beneficial to classes that do not have any kind of like roguelike abilities like cunning action or the monk step of the wind where you can disengage and still move. If you're a striker, if you're someone that's not built for taking hits consecutively, this is a wonderful thing to have because you can run up, attack, bunny hop away. It's just very, very good, and the distance you move is really, really great because 5 times your proficiency bonus is at least 15 feet. So you get a good distance to get away and then use whatever rest of your movement you have left to get really out of danger. And you can still attack and give yourself that opportunity to do something else. It works. So rabbit hop is also extremely beneficial for casters. It's a great way to get out of danger from being in melee and avoiding using a 2nd level spell slot to Misty Step or some other spell with a very similar effect. Now, make sure to brush up on your jumping rules because when you jump, you do consume your movement speed to travel that distance that's based on your strength modifier. Your strength score, not modifier. Those things in conjunction to everything, it is something you have to be mindful of. So you can dash and then jump, but you're still consuming the same amount of movement speed as if you had a dash. It doesn't increase your movement speed a certain amount above what your normal movement speed is. So definitely be on top of that because that's something you have to manage, and it really only comes into play in situations where you're playing a Harengon or you do have like a chasm or something you have to jump. It's very rare. I have seen very few circumstances where this has really come into play. I have jumped a whole bunch of times because it was fun, but I really just use it in place of my normal movement for theatrical purposes. But brush up on that. Try and commit it to memory because if you're going to play this species, it's going to be something you're going to want to use pretty often because it feels right. With all that being said and done, the Harengon have this really unique opportunity to be anything. You can be really the worst parts of the Fae, the best parts, or anything in between. You can be that nightmare fuel rabbit of evil proportions beyond that any normal mortal can fathom. Or you can be a happy bunny that hops around. It's really up to you. Draw inspiration from wherever you can. It's challenging to be the kind of player that I am, the kind of person that I am that likes really dark and edgy things, to make a Harengon that scary kind of animal without overdoing it and making it just too much of an annoyance that's like gonna be a problem for a long-term campaign. But will I do it? Probably. It's interesting because they are mechanically very useful. They're very strong. They have a lot of great opportunities for them. They can be weird. They can be crazy. And they're part of one of the worst places in the entire D&D universe. The happy party that ruins your life on purpose and where the whole world pranks you and causes you to suffer. The Feywild. And it's a lot of fun to explore someone that comes from that chaos and puts them into the world when they look so bizarre and unique, that it's really a challenge to kind of put yourself in that shoes. That can be a lot of fun. That can be a lot of great, story to really bolster and explore. So give it a shot. Mechanically, they're strong. They're great. There are a lot of things working for them. You can always find uses for their abilities, and being able to go first in combat alone is a big hit, and you have a better chance because of your high initiative rating. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. Thank you for making it this far. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends over at Critical Failures. Check us out every Wednesday night. We run Icewind Dale. It's a lot of fun. Things get a little crazy. And they're going to start a new campaign on Monday nights as well with a whole different crew. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.